No, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 you're so young, you can't. You can do it. You can do it. Here, oh, let me help you up. Let me help you. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, oh. He lives.
Now, honey, you do that every day, and you know he's fine.
Hi, welcome to Canis Bader Christmas. In this episode, I want to walk through the display, kind of give you a comprehensive look at how things are set up, connected, all that kind of stuff. So generally when I go to set up, the first thing I will set up is power. So this is essentially where the power of the display starts. I got the plate off to show you what's in there, but so don't stick your fingers in there. So that gets started, and what's plugged into that is a power strip. So this power strip basically feeds power to the rest of the display, and right now I just have two things plugged into it. One is the power supply for the Matrix, and the other is the power supply for the F-16. Here is the permanently mounted F-16B3, a network switch. So one of the cables comes from the office, the computer, upstairs in my office down to here via Ethernet cable, and then the other cable is feeding the F-16. And then this power supply feeds the F-16. So when we turn power on, everything comes on, and the only thing that's on this circuit is everything that can be turned off. So if it's a computer of any kind of remote Falcon Player, Pi, or BeagleBone, I don't put it on this power circuit. But everything, all the lights, all the power supplies, they're just fine being turned off during the day, so I do that. At roughly sunset, this will come on. All of the power supplies and controllers are powered on, and then the show starts on time. And then at about 30 minutes afterwards, everything shuts off, everything's good, and we go. So now, that's for one side of the yard. For the other side of the yard, and really the main part of the display, I've got to extend Ethernet and power. So I'll show you what I do to do that. For power, I have a couple of extension cords that I got for the ICANN days, and one of them is 2 or 3 extension cords with 2 outlets in each cable, and it's pretty heavy duty extension cord. And then the other one is just really to get it across the opening of the garage, and so I will tie those two together, and that will basically provide power out in the yard for everything. So it's a nice little deal. You probably don't have to go that thick for pixels, but you might just need to know, measure things and see what you need. But that's what I have. I've had those cables for a long time, and I'll keep using them until they wear out, and I'll have to get something else. A generous supply of duct tape.
So I did tie this to the gutter just to keep it off the ground. There is the splice, and then we turn the corner and we go that way. And we're really just snaking around the door. Probably need to clean the front porch off a little bit, but I did stop here because I have a little gardening to do.
My FM transmitter is also in the office. It's fed from the show computer. I built a dipole antenna last year, and that really made a huge difference in signal output. Now, it's basically a piece of PVC with 2 wires cut to length based on the frequency, and I just soldered some coax to it in the center. A generous helping of hot glue gives it some stability at the joint. Now, previously I had just used a piece of wire connected to the output. I actually had to crank the power down about halfway with this new antenna. The whole neighborhood had a great signal for a few minutes. You only need to get across the street. Don't go nuts.
I marked the 45s, and then I used one of these bits, 1.1 to drill down about that far. So about that far, about you know, this much. Then, now you see I have a little pilot hole, so I'm going to drill all the way through with a 3/8 inch drill. So I have this all thread that I need to screw into this hole, because this hole it won't slide down in there. In other words, I'm going to have to screw it in. So what I'm going to do is put one nut on the end and put another nut, and then kind of tighten them together with wrenches. See if I can do this on camera. So that should lock this onto the head, and then I can use a socket to just screw it into the wood. Make sure it's snug there, and then we'll I think that'll work. Okay, this is the finished assembly, and now I am painting it. So I put a good double coat of paint all the way around it because this stuff kind of seems to drink in the paint a little bit. So once I get enough paint on there where it doesn't feel like it's still soaking in, then I will actually paint it the color that I finally want to paint it. The all thread sticks up, and then you can just slide the candy canes over the all thread. Now I do need a way to anchor this to the ground. Okay, so I started with this granite color, and so I just sprayed the whole thing all the way around because it was kind of soaking up the paint, and that was really just kind of a primer. And then I painted everything this fossil color as kind of the base coat. Now I'm going to start adding some khaki. I got some warm caramel. That sounds good. And I got nutmeg. You can do that. And then you can kind of just leave that. And all right, then I think this is my oldest box that I have. It's outside, so it's a CG 1500. I've got one of the old original power supplies that I used. This is a differential receiver, and I got some weird wiring going on here. This is before I used fuses for power injection, so you notice I'm coming straight off the power supply feeding this full string, and I'm not sure what that one goes to. That one probably goes to the lights that are all the way around the fence. Now this year I was noticing that the lights at the end of the string were flickering a little bit, so I got some this SPT wire and just ran a line all the way down to the end. The reason I'll be probably rebuilding this year, and I'll probably be replacing the lights this year, so that's why I'm not going to mess with this anymore. This also feeds a couple of the props that I'll show you here in a second, but I think this is this would be the fence. This one is the wall washer. This one goes to nothing, this one goes to nothing, and this one is probably that staff right there. Okay, so that's the first box that we come to, and the first differential receiver. And of course it's just on a temporary piece of wood that I stand up during the holiday season, so it gets removed once the lights come down. Okay, these are pixels with C9 faceted reflectors, and this is an ant. I'm not real sure what he's doing here. 1-inch EMT, and then I just have EMT hangers on this, and it goes all the way around. These pixels, I tried a couple of different ways. I tried hot gluing them to this, but obviously that didn't work, so then I went with the 2 zip ties around it. This is just a screw on top. They're not the greatest, but they do work pretty well. So now these I think are an older design from Ray. He has some newer ones. I have had some trouble with the wires not making good connection in here. Like I'll have one that one of the colors is out, and if I just kind of jiggle this, it comes on. So I think there's something wrong with the wiring internally there, but I think he has an updated version of those if you're looking for C9 type bulbs. Modular matrix panel. This is fed by that box. This thing flaps around in the wind, and we do get quite a bit of wind here this time of year especially. So I just tied this off to the gas meter. I'm probably not supposed to do that, but so it just kind of, it still allows it to flap, but it does catch it and keep it from letting it fly too far. And then we have the larger of the metal snowflakes, and that one is fed off of this one, this receiver that I'll show you here in a minute. So the wall washer is 2 of the matrix panels side by side. I've got a 1-inch piece of EMT kind of holding it up at the top. I have this wire coming in from that first box, and then I also have power injection at the end of this string. And up above that is a matrix. So last year I had 4 strings of 128 and I took it down to 2 strings of 256 so that I could steal 2 ports from that differential receiver, and I'll show you that here in just a second. I know it's difficult to see, and that's on purpose. This ammo can with a power supply and a differential receiver. So this is feeding the that big matrix that I showed you, and the 2 snowflakes on either side. So power coming in, Ethernet cable right here, and then 4 pigtails coming out. And so what's in here is just so I got a power supply and then a differential receiver in here, and then this is just so that I can feed the Ethernet cable through. Pretty simple setup, nothing real special about it. I don't have anything mounted, and it just came on. So I've got to be very careful because the power came on. Okay, this is the smaller snowflake. It's on the right hand side, and I just got a pigtail that goes to that differential receiver. This year I've got it hanging with a chain off of the EMT for the wall washer. And then to complete this side, we have another modular matrix panel, or as I like to call it,
the Staff of Zartok.
And again, this thing was flapping around a lot, so I just tied it off to this bush here so that it will catch it. It won't let it go very far. So that makes up everything on the side of the house. So I got the 2 staffs there and there. Got the wall washer, I got the matrix, and then I got the 2 snowflakes. There you go. Now, in the yard, I've got 4 of these. These are the larger trees. You saw the build on those. I have them angled slightly this way because the corner is really the best viewing angle. And what I did was I put a piece of 1/2 inch PVC that runs all the way through the top of this thing, and then I just mount it or slide it over a piece of rebar that I have jammed in the ground. Unfortunately, these things have not moved. Okay, so those 4 trees come into this beautiful camouflaged box that I have here. Look at the weatherproofing that I've put on it. So actually, after thinking about this, I could probably use a CG-1500 and just put it back here. It's one of those plastic ammo cans. This one is a little bit bigger box, but it's the same company. Plastic ammo can with a power supply and a differential receiver inside of it, and that's all that's in here. And so the trees just come into here, and I don't have any pigtails or anything like that. So I was saying CG-1500 would probably work better in this case. So I will probably use that next year. And then I just have it in this trash bag to keep the rain out. Seems to have worked so far. And then around the main part of the yard, I have what I'm calling a fence of these, and then I've got rebar holding this up and a piece of PVC with red tape around it as a candy cane. So those are quite cute. So this fence is what I'm thinking of replacing with something because Kathy does not like the lights. You can see they don't always point the same way, and she doesn't like them loose, so I have to figure out something to fix that. Okay, another box with a power supply and a differential receiver in it. So this one feeds the staff on the right, the arches, and I believe the window and door on the front. So I've just got it sitting up on a block of wood, kind of tucked back against the house. The arch is the Matt Johnson design. It's got a strip of 48 pixels inside it, and I actually have this one daisy chained to the other one through an F-amp. So I'm coming out of the end of it, and it goes through this F-amp so that I can go a few feet over to that one. People have asked if you have, if you've got props, can you daisy chain them? You can, but you have to boost the signal on the output of the first one, or you have to boost it on the output so that it'll go however many feet to the next one. If you don't, you probably won't light the second one up, and that was the problem that I had with the first time I tried to do this without an F-amp. Because even though pixels regenerate the signal, they only designed to go a few inches to the next pixel. And then we have the 4 small mini trees, and they're basically mounted the same way. I've got a piece of PVC on the back piece, and I've got a piece of rebar just jammed into the ground that are holding these up, and they've been really stable. All right, so now the tree, this is the box that I modified, so I could add those 4 small mini trees. You can see my waterproofing here. Does a nice job. So this box has got 2 power supplies in it. It's got that fuse box and then the 2 differential receivers. So this one feeds the Mega Tree, and this one feeds the 4 mini trees, and also the star on top. So I put F-amps between the first and second tree and the second and third tree.
Now, one little note about this is my designer decided I needed to double the number of pixels on that tree. So this box that I just put together, this is the last year for that.
Okay, so this is the lead from the differential receiver, and then this one is coming off this last string through an F-amp, and so that feeds this second tree. Did get a question on how I anchored the tree down. So the cable, stops here. I have this turnbuckle that I got from the local home improvement warehouse, and then I just jammed a piece of rebar that way to kind of hold this thing. Now it is a little loose. It does move a little bit, but it's far enough over to where it's not, the tree isn't moving any. So that was the simple method. We have so much rock just underneath the surface that I couldn't use one of those screw-in anchors. So this is the best thing I've got. And then we have the sign, the Tune 2 sign. And it has a BeagleBone Black inside it, a power supply, and then the P5 panels, 2 on each side. And then for the globe, I've just got 7 pixels kind of strapped to each other. They're 5-volt pixels, and they're running off a E6804 SanDevices controller. And then, of course, the centerpiece of the show is the big honkin' Mega Tree with the star on top. And that one I have done previous videos about, so I won't talk about how all that's connected. And so here's the mount for the 3 candy canes that I have. I know it's kind of hard to see because I did camouflage the actual mounting post. But I did end up just drilling a big hole and shoving a piece of rebar in the ground to make it stand up straight. Somebody suggested fishing line to get them to stand straight, and I haven't procured any of that to see if that works, so that's why I have that board on the bottom. And then if you look, right there is the box. I'm not going to open this because it's zip tied shut, but this is the box. It's got a power supply and a differential receiver inside it, so it feeds those 3 candy canes. And then it also, I've got just pulling power off of there for 12 volts for Snoopy, because the plug that I had for Snoopy died or shorted or got rained on or whatever and doesn't work anymore, so I can just feed it with 12 volts. And this is the only port that I had available. All right, so this is the second arch, and I did modify Matt's design a little bit just so I can move it around and stuff. And so I have these, I may have shown you this before, I have these to fold up, but these just give it a little stability because those don't give you any stability, those little feet. And it kept blowing over, and so I was always having to prop it up with something, so I put that on the bottom there. But as you can see, it's pretty far away. I'd say at least 10 feet from that other arch. So I needed the F amp on the output of that first arch to feed the second arch. So hiding back here is the F48. Not much to it. It gets power from a power supply, and then there it is. So this is the input from the garage, and this goes to the sign, and I've got the sign connected to the network. So this is the window, so it's actually two props, but it's all part of one. And so people have asked about my mounting. Basically drilled into the brick and put some eyelets into the brick. So I've got a piece of 1/2 inch EMT on the top there, and then for every cross piece I mounted to some rebar. I need to replace those cross pieces with the chroma trim. I just have not done that yet, but that is the plan. And then hiding behind Snoopy is another box with a differential receiver and power supply. And then probably my favorite DIY prop is this wreath that is on a 4x4 sheet of plexiglass. Each ring is 72 pixels. I just have another one of those eyelets drilled into the brick and a little chain that's actually holding up the prop. And then I have a door outline and window outline, same as the other window, and mounted the same. Just got an eyelet drilled into the brick, no anchor, and just use 1/2 inch EMT going across there, and then the cross piece is just strip with a, probably need to rotate that a little bit. That's why I need to put that chroma trim up there so it'll point the right direction. And so I'm getting the ladder out. So the garage, then I have a sphere, and then I have an outline for the garage. That actually does have the chroma trim across the top, and that does work really well. On everything that has strip, I used little ball bungees at the bottom and some kind of eyelet. And so that's what just holds the strips down. Those are highly recommended. I use that on the bottom of the Mega Tree as well. The top I just have some EMT hangers. And then on the right side we have another sphere, and I just have a little small chain with a hook into the side there. And then lastly I have the matrix, and so I use this toolbox just to show you that you can really pretty much use anything for the electronics that are outside. Here's what we got in here. We got the 5-volt power supply, and then I have this is a hex fuse, and I've only got one of them connected, so I've got this first one going in here, and it feeds these two. It goes through these two fuses, so these are the power injection wires going off to the other side. And then I just got the negatives connected up to the power supply, and then this positive goes and feeds the receiver board. So this one goes to the left side, and this one goes to the right side. So there's power cable. All that's coming out. The frame is 3/4 inch EMT, and I got those little T things at Lowe's. Don't love them, but they work okay. I've got wires and tent stakes holding it up right now. I want to build some cables that, like I did for the tree, that will hold those up. Now, the last part of the display that I haven't really covered is the inflatables. Now, I didn't add the inflatables to the display. You know, they don't have pixels in them. You can't, you know, you got to come out every day and check to make sure that they do inflate properly when when everything starts up. So I'm not a real big fan, but I think they add a wonderful aspect to the display. Now we got the little Dalmatian here, we got Snoopy over here, and we have the always lovable Labrador Retriever over there in the corner. Now, the justification for these props is that Kathy is the love of my life, and it is her yard too, so that's why we've got them here. Does that help any, Dr. E? This is Emmy, our Dalmatian. She wanted to say hello to everyone. Apparently she wants to get down now. This is Sadie. She wanted to also say hello, as you can tell. Oh, sister's coming in. I guess she wants to say hello as well. And this is our little leather couch eating Lexi. Now, I did want to point out that I did already receive a card from Fatima. Lovely card she left out on our front porch saying, well, I'll summarize it up. We have the best light display in the neighborhood. So thank you, Fatima. We very much appreciate that. And I had forgotten to even mention this, but Riley had made a picture about the display. This is not dated, and I think it was a year or two ago, but isn't that lovely? So thank you, Riley. Thank you, Fatima, for the card. Really do appreciate it. I love putting the display up. I enjoy, geeking out over the technical stuff. I love watching the display myself, but more than that, I really enjoy that other people can enjoy the display as well. So thank you very much for the card. Okay, so wrapping up, if you have any questions, now, this was the comprehensive display setup day video, but if you still have questions, I obviously wasn't comprehensive enough, but leave a comment below and I will get back to you. Other than that, thanks for watching and I'll see you again soon.
Now, I shot an email.
So I got 6 of these, and so I got 5 of these. I am your father.